A workman has fallen heavily into an empty ballast wagon. He suffered disabling injuries and was lapsing into and out of unconsciousness. The rescue team was to locate the worker, manage any hazards on site, determine the nature of the man's injuries, apply first aid treatment and extricate the workman and transport to a designated point for ambulance transport. A workman was recovering from a fainting spell by resting in the first aid room when the earthquake happened. The ceiling of this room collapsed and allowed the contents of a loft above to fall. Further collapse inside the building has created extensive rubble, which will significantly impede any attempts to enter the room through normal access. The team was to enter the first aid room by breaching the wall. They were to stay within the marked area and avoid severing load-bearing wall studs. The workman was to be extricated from the collapsed room and removed to a designated location. First aid was rendered as appropriate. A workman was preparing for the relocation of a metal frame on a flatbed carriage when the earthquake caused the frame to topple and trap him under it. There was debris on the site and the carriage had been damaged, causing it to become unstable. The team was to lift the weight from the workman, administer first aid and then remove him to a designated location.
Keep stabilising, right there, right down, right there.
Two workmen were repairing a pipe in a drainage service pit when the earthquake occurred. The heavy concrete cover of the pit dropped back into position. The supporting wall adjacent to the pit opening was cracked and distorted by the earthquake and became unstable. Before access to the pit could be effected, the wall had to be stabilised. The team was to meet with the structural engineer on site who would direct them where to place shores to support the wall while rescue of the trapped men was carried out. Rescue operations could not be commenced until all shores were in position. One shore had already been placed by an earlier rescue team who had to evacuate the area because of aftershocks. The team was to handle the site hazards to the best of their ability. In this stand, the scenario is of a terrace of 4 two-level houses which had collapsed because of the earthquake. It has been reported that there would normally have been 4 people in the houses at the time. These people comprise of 2 couples, one pair in number 43 and the other in number 45. The team was to carry out a surface search looking for survivors in the collapsed buildings. Any survivors found were to be given first aid as appropriate and then moved to a designated location. Any bodies or body parts found were to be covered and their location identified to police on site.
Communicate with the deputy for a couple of minutes. What was that? So we've got to find access downstairs.
Okay. Alright, Russ, you got that ready? Well, get in here, we'll slim up.
Is there any holes behind?
Sorry? Big swab bandage.
Okay.
It's all right.
Now we're going to find Julian Scott.
Keep going.
Ron?
Yes.
Can you stay with Mel and start doing a bit of debris removal?
Yes. What was that?
Very carefully.
Australia's top emergency service volunteers are attending a series of simulated disasters in Melbourne this weekend, battling for the honour of the country's best SES rescue team. Competitors from all states and territories are being put to the test in mock rescue situations on derailed trains, elevator shafts and collapsed houses. They're being judged on safety, the way they handle casualties and how innovative they are in the rescues.
It's a great feeling, and there's a very good feeling of comradeship, you know, with all the volunteers from all over Australia.
And the competition continues tomorrow.
Volunteers from every state are testing their skills in a national rescue competition. They're presented with real-life disasters such as the Newcastle earthquake.
Newport Rail Yards in Melbourne's west played host to a series of real-life tragedies.
All the stands are real things that we would be dealing with in an earthquake.
SES volunteers from around the country put their rescue skills to the test.
We haven't gone so far as to give it a Richter scale, but there's certainly enough devastation within the scenarios to bring about a sense of urgency and need and develop their skills.
Rescue operations like these are regularly performed throughout Australia, and for many of the SES volunteers, it brings back memories of such tragedies like Thredbo and the Newcastle earthquake.
Definitely a stark reminder of the day that we drove down the main street of Newcastle, seeing what it was like, and this once again is the closest thing that we can come to.
Raquel Stevens, 10 News.
Earthquake today with SES crews from around the nation quick to the rescue. There was no cause for concern, however. The disaster was a mock display aimed at assessing the skills of Australia's emergency workers. Wayne Dyer explains.
Help! Restore! Get down!
For the people trapped under this wreckage, there wasn't really an earthquake. But there may well have been, judging by the uncompromising approach and life-saving skills shown by their rescuers.
Can you let me know how secure this trailer is, whether I get under?
SES teams from each state and territory will compete all weekend to save pretend victims of a simulated earthquake. Yet for once, their capabilities and dedication will be called into question.
And at the end of the day, we hope that they've recovered their casualty and they've done it safely, and there's been no injury to anybody else.
This year it's Melbourne's turn to host the championships. The Victorians have never won this competition, usually forced to defer to arch rivals New South Wales. But this year, with the home ground advantage, they're hoping to rescue their reputation.
I would say we've got as good a chance as anybody. We've achieved a state level competition. We're now here competing on an even par with people from other states.
But while the rivalry is keen, all the competitors know when called upon to tackle a national tragedy like Thredbo, the spirit of cooperation is stronger.
Disasters don't happen every day. Unless these sort of competitions are put into place, people just don't have the preparedness.
Wayne Dyer, National 9 News.
Hang on, let me reposition that in. Like, look at this second hand. That's it.
Missing the stuff now. The boys are going to have an arrangement where it looks like a standard sort of construction of a storage room.
Yeah.
And I guess gyprock's probably a standard sort of material used. That's why we're popping that on, make it more realistic. Slow them down a little bit. Not going to slow them down much, I don't think.